Yo, everybody. So a common question I get is about choosing a programming language. The common instinct of the average nerdling out there is to choose a language based on what's the best. What's the best language? If you've been watching any of my vlogs, you know that there's no best language. Just like there's no best guitar, there is no best set of drums. There is no best martial art except for, no. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to programming languages, they all have their pros and cons, and each one has their strengths. So for instance, if you want to write systems that require mega horsepower, like a gaming engine, you're not going to do this with Python, you're going to do this with C++. On the other hand, if you want to write some machine learning code or AI, chances are you're going to be doing this with Python. So again, it depends on the application, it depends on the type of work that you want to do that determines which language is best. It's all circumstantial. In my career as a developer, I would in fact go into jobs, sit down with the client and see what the requirements were for the particular job, and then I would choose the language, the framework, the library based on the needs of the particular project. And sometimes I would have to learn a whole new programming language just to get it done. So you have to learn to become neutral in terms of languages. So when it comes to choosing a programming language for your career, you gotta not look at the technology itself in terms of how good it is. Because, as I just said, it depends. No, what you should be looking at is two things. Number one, the type of work that you want to do. Certain types of programming are very different from other types of programming. Let me put it in a better way. Java programming for the enterprise is very different from writing PHP code in terms of the type of work that you're doing. I'll give you an example. With Java coding, typically, you're going to be working with very large organizations, working on huge projects that could take months, if not a couple years to complete. It's a totally different type of work environment, job environment than, say, doing PHP programming for a small business. It's a totally different game. It's a totally different lifestyle. It's a totally different mindset. And you should really consider that more than anything else. The programming language will fade in terms of its importance in time. Meaning, as a programmer, when you become advanced, you're not going to care really too much if you're doing this language or that language. Well, you have personal preferences. But at the end of the day, you're writing code, you're solving problems. But the most important thing, the type of problems that you're solving. Personally, I don't like doing enterprise work. I've only done one job where I was on the enterprise, and it's a totally different game. Lots of politics. You're working in an environment that are corporate oriented, lots of paperwork, if you will, not actual paperwork, but there's a whole bunch of infrastructure around that type of work. There's a whole different lifestyle around that type of work. Whereas if you're doing freelance work with PHP and maybe WordPress development, something like that, it's a whole different game. Once again, it's about many different clients, it's about new projects every few months or every few weeks. It's a totally different game, a lot more flexibility there. Again, it depends on the type of work that you do. So at the end of the day, when you're looking at a programming language, don't be too concerned about which one is best. Be much more concerned about the type of work that you want to do, the type of coding that you want to do. Writing a gaming engine in C++ is very different from building web apps in Python or PHP or C#. It's a totally different game. And you have to look at the work environment. And finally, you have to consider the availability of jobs in your region. You got to look where you want to work. Maybe online, maybe you're in Serbia, maybe you're in California, maybe you're in New York, who knows? You have to look, see what the jobs are like there, or what are the business opportunities there for a particular language. So you see, in choosing a programming language, the technology, the coding language itself, the programming language itself, is not as important as the type of work that it allows you to do and the job availability. Look at it from that point of view. All right, I hope that helps.